Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be covering part 2 of the story I covered earlier, all about the husband and CPA who busted his wife at tax time, cheating and all that, and how he is going to explain how this whole thing went down, how he catches her, and of course, divorces her, and handles this whole thing like a boss. So, jumping right back into where the story left off, he says, it took the private investigator 3 weeks, but what he showed me left me in shock for a few days. My wife noticed and asked how I was feeling like a caring, loving wife that didn't stick a knife in her husband's back. I just played the whole thing off as stress. I wanted to yell at her, break things, to toss her out, but once the anger settled, the brain took over. I needed an exit plan that didn't leave me at the mercy of the public and the courts. So for almost a month, I did nothing different at home, even though touching her made my skin crawl. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it happened to you, man. But at the very least, it happened before you had any kids, because I didn't hear anything about kids. And you're in your late 30s, you got your whole life ahead of you, you weren't married that long. I'm sure you took a little bit of a hit, but it wasn't like you were married 20, 30 years. In the background, I got my lawyer and finances protected. He says, shit, sorry, got sidetracked. The PI followed her on the days she was working late. He says that in quotes, working late. And found that she was working late every time. That made me feel better, but at the same time, I felt like I was losing touch with reality. Then he cracked the egg wide open, and that was when my marriage ended. Not in the courtroom or our home, not in some dramatic blowout argument in public. It was watching the videos of her leaving our home at her regular time to go to work, but instead of going across town to an apartment we'd never been to together. So she's leaving your house to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, but instead of going to work, she's going to someplace else, some apartment. And obviously the reason she's staying late some nights is because obviously during the day, she's starting work later because she's at that apartment. I had no idea who the man was that opened the door and greeted her with a hug and a kiss before showing her in and shutting the door. There were more videos of them together. Out shopping for groceries, out having brunch, walking in the park, making out like newlyweds in all of them. When I asked him how this was possible with her job, and told me that her company was something called flexible hours. As long as they put in their 8 hours, the non-critical staff can choose their working hours as they want. My wife had been shifting her work 3 to 4 hours later so she could live a double life with some asshole that doesn't mind destroying marriages. There you go. That's why she never got any overtime pay, even though you were keeping track of the extra hours she was working. Because as long as she gets her 8 hours in, she can start her day at noon to 8 or 11 to 7 or whatever. So she had her time to run off with her lover and cover up the whole thing. Unfortunately, she's married to a CPA that's going to connect the fucking dots and say, where's the extra money? So good for you. Yeah, if you didn't notice that, then this could have been going on longer. She's slick. I still want to know where the missing phone is. It turns out the other guy is one of her co-workers, and there was never a special team. There's a cliche, banging her co-worker. Remember that this is the wife who never talks about work or her co-workers? Now you know why. It seems that most of her co-workers were aware and supportive of the affair. There you go. Every gal who cheats has at least one other woman, and at least one that knows about it. And I bet you these girls egged her on. And he left the toilet seat up. Are you shitting me, Beth? He left the toilet seat up? Whatever the fuck her name is. Go cheat on him, girl. He left the fucking toilet seat up. Apparently, word has spread around the office that I'm emotionally vacant, controlling, and I take her for granted. Of course. At least as much as you can trust office gossip. That was when the taxes made perfect sense. She was working later, not overtime, so there's no need to get extra money. I think she thought I would never notice since we kept our finances separate. No, dipshit, this guy's not gonna... Come on here. She had to know. Either she's really fucking stupid, or she subconsciously was trying to sabotage things. She had to know you're gonna figure it out. If she was worried about me noticing, she would have tried to come up with a reason to have someone else do her taxes, but that would have looked even more guilty. No. She knows that would have been the biggest red flag since, CCP went walking down doing a parade. No. I think she found herself in a box she didn't know how to get out of and was just hoping that I didn't notice the disparity in her income. An accountant? Really? Or maybe she just didn't think about it at all. I might be giving her too much credit for being devious, when more likely she was just stupid. Yeah, or just so caught up in the affair of Fox, she just wasn't thinking clearly. Or stupid. Well, by the time the paperwork was drawn up, I was ready to be done with everything. Before I confronted her and gave her the divorce papers, I met with her dad one-on-one. Well, I'm sure that was nice. I hope he kept his knives and guns away from you. I told her dad everything. I showed him what the PI found. I didn't hold anything back. I told him that a long time ago I made a promise to you that I would never hurt your daughter, and I kept it. She made that same promise to me, but she broke all her vows to me. She's no longer my wife, my family, or my concern. Good for you. Good for you for controlling the narrative and going straight to him. Now, obviously, you had all the paperwork ready to go. That way, she couldn't get to him and cry to Daddy. The next thing you know, Rambo's showing up at your house, doing what Rambo does best. I told him I'm not going to do anything for revenge or to intentionally hurt her, but I'm not going to shield her from the consequences of her choices. I didn't meet with her dad because I'm afraid of him. He's always carried himself as a fair man. I knew exactly where I stood with him, and I respected it. I met with him because he deserved to see and hear the full, unvarnished truth before it turned into the story where everything was my fault. Yes, control the narrative. Good. Because I guarantee you, if you served her or whatever, she'd go crying to Daddy, and he'd get her version of the story where you're the devil. Left the toilet seat up, that shit. I'm sorry you were expecting some great blowout in the end of the story. It was more like the last wisp of air coming out of a tire. Her dad had already called her by the time I made it home. I don't know what he said, but she looked like a scared little girl sitting on the couch crying. Of course she was crying. Well, I wasn't moved by this. For months, she made me feel like I was losing my mind, but my instincts were right. That was when the phone made sense to me. She didn't need to be constantly texting him because she was basically living with him in the morning for over half of the week and working with him every day. I still have no idea how she was able to perfectly compartmentalize her emotions so effectively. She loved me. I have no doubt about that. No, she did not love you. Maybe you told yourself that to make yourself feel better, but I do not think at all she loved you or him. She's not capable of that. She only loved herself. She also loved the other man. I also have no doubt about that. It has less to do with me or the other man as much as it's about her distorted view of what love is and means. Women do not love the same way that men do. This is just an unfortunate reality. That's why, guys, you can love your girl, don't be in love with her. Because if you're in love with her, you're going to make fucking mistakes. It is what it is. Because they certainly don't love you in an in love with you type of fashion. We can make the argument that the guys that women will leave their families for, change religion for, break them out of prison, they love them. It's more like those guys have their minds as opposed to like deep love. It is what it is. Well, I didn't draw it out. I put the papers and copies of the pictures I had of her and the other guy on the coffee table in front of her and told her I'd already filed and that since the apartment was in my name and honestly she couldn't afford it on her own, she'd had 30 days to get out. I would have kicked her out immediately, but we have tenant laws where I live, and a formal eviction notice is required. 30 days, huh? Well, she could say, I'm not leaving. You're leaving. Well, that's still a long time being stuck with her. She wanted to talk and to explain, but I cut her off. Yeah, just let me explain. I got some fucking videos. There's no need to explain, honey. I told her I don't need to hear any more lies from you. We are done. I ended up packing a bag and going to stay at my best friend's house. Good, I'm glad you could get the hell out of there. I didn't call ahead. He didn't really know what was going on because I didn't know until I hired a PI. When I knocked on his door, it was almost at 10 o'clock at night. He looked confused at first, but without a word, stepped aside and let me in. He didn't ask any questions after he closed the door. Well, that's a bro. You can probably tell by the look on your face that you didn't want to talk. Just let me in. I'll crash on the couch. I think we just stood there staring at each other for about a minute or so until he nodded at once and walked past me down the hall. He came back a minute later and tossed a pillow and blanket on the couch and turned and went back to bed, still not a word. That was when I truly understood the meaning of true friendship. True friends don't always need to speak, they just need to be there. They don't have all the answers, but they're with you while you figure them out. That's why a really good bro, a close friendship like that, that's rare. And you hold on to them, you don't fuck it up. He says true friends support your decisions, even the ones they disagree with. Not because they're waiting to say I told you so, but because they're hoping to have a funny story to tell years down the road. It's possible to do everything right and still lose. That's not weakness, that's life. Therapy's fine, the gym is great, but it's real friends who get you through this shit. If one of your bros is having some issues, help them out. That's what bros do. I agree. Well, I stayed with him until my wife moved back to her parents' house after 3 weeks. That's a good bro letting you stay crashing his couch for 3 weeks. But you would do the same for him. So in those 3 weeks, she wasn't blowing up your phone and all that and carrying on. I mean, unless she knew it was over. Maybe her dad gave her an earful. I don't know. I genuinely believed she was going to go shack up with the other dude since they were so in love. Well, it turns out that when it's not cheating, it's not as exciting for the dude. He dumped her before our divorce was even finished, and she told me that she can be all mine again now that the other guy was gone, and I didn't mean to. I really didn't. So he dumped the second it's no longer cheating. I bet you she was like, hey, I'm single now. And he's like, nah, dumped her like that. That's what she deserves. And now she wants you back. What is she? I mean, she must really think very highly of herself and think that you are just so desperate and still so happy to have her. I mean, you're the one that kicked her to the curb. This is what they do. It's ridiculous. I've always tried to maintain a measure of decorum, but I think that was the first time I ever laughed in someone's face. I would have laughed too. I think it was when she realized that the other guy did to her what she was doing to me, when she understood that she lost to both of us. She spiraled. I'm not going to go into everything she did to try and stop the divorce, but she crossed the line showing up like some trashy actress from a cheesy rom-com, thinking that she could seduce me into taking her back. Oh, God. Well, one night when that happened, I was in my dining room when I saw her get out of her car and from the coat she was wearing on a perfectly hot sunny day told me what I was doing. Oh, for goodness sake. It's a fucking hot sunny day. She's wearing a coat. What do you think's under there? Probably not a whole lot. It's trying to tempt you back. Really? I called her dad and told him to come and get her now. I was waiting by the door when she knocked. I opened it a little bit and asked her what she was doing here, and she said she wanted to talk. Uh-huh. She said she understands the marriage is over, but she wanted to have closure. What closure? Bitch, I served you divorce papers. It's over. But she thinks she can just open that coat and show her tits, maybe wearing some lingerie or something, I don't know, whatever gets you off, and cry, and that'll work. Since I was only waiting for her dad to get there, I humored her and invited her in to sit while I made us some coffee. Oh, for goodness sake, I wouldn't have done that. I'm not going to bore you with the retelling of the Hobag Handbook, but she hit all the chapters. Of course she did. I think my favorite was her telling me it wasn't what it looked like. Are you fucking kidding me? Bitch, I got videos. I had pictures and videos that told me exactly what it was, but somehow I had it wrong. Just for fun, I asked her to explain it. Smack! I should have smacked you earlier when you let her in. Dude, you might as well take a blunt object and whack yourself in the head repeatedly. That would have been a more pleasant experience to listen to her trying to explain all this shit away. But then again, okay, you got some funny shit to tell us. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done with her. I sat there for almost half an hour listening to her gaslighting, deflecting, and trying to trickle truth even though I had the videos. See? Like what I say about the blunt object. It was torture. Tough shit. You brought that on yourself. But when her dad finally showed up, she was surprised and then embarrassed when I told her dad that I didn't need her coming over here to seduce me because she doesn't like the consequences of her choices. Ooh. She denied coming over to seduce me, and I told her, fine, then you won't mind opening up your coat and showing us what you're wearing, will you? Of course, she didn't flash her father, but she did storm out of the apartment yelling that I was going to regret divorcing her. Yeah, I can tell you're going to regret it so much. Her dad was just shaking his head, and I can only imagine he was wondering where his little girl went. Probably dad here spoiled her rotten. Probably from the second she was born. I mean, okay, you love your kid and daddy's little girl, fine, but still, I think daddy was a little too, I don't know, spoiled little girl. Well, before he left, I asked him to please talk some sense into her. Good luck with that, dude. I said that if she starts causing trouble in my life, I'll show the world who she is. I told him, I'm not making a threat. I respect you too much for that. I'm making you a promise, the same as when I promised to protect your daughter from my life, or with my life. I promise that she tries to hurt me or my reputation, I will return fire, and it will be everything. Good for you. He may not like being talked to like that, but he'll respect you in some level for being a man. Well, we stared at each other for a long few minutes before he put his hand out to shake my hand. He told me while shaking my hand that I was a good man and he was sorry for his daughter. And that was that. No long, flowery goodbyes or drawn-out hugs. A few words after knowing him for 9 years, and he was a stranger. Well, I'm glad it ended that way. But that dude, he could have been a way better father-in-law to you. I don't agree with how he handled things, but you know what? Maybe he was messed up from war. I don't know. My dad wasn't that way. Well, that's my story, and I've had a lot of time to think about everything that has happened. It's still a mystery to me how my ex could claim to love two men at the same time. She didn't, dude. I'm telling you now. The problem is that I believe her. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Was this something new that she discovered about herself after we were married, or was this who she always was and was just very good at hiding it for a while? Well, usually this probably is who she always was. And that can beg the question, was she cheating on you before this whole thing went on? Was she cheating on you when you were just dating or engaged and everything? Maybe not. Maybe so. I don't know. I mean, right now, honestly, it doesn't matter. But obviously, I can understand how it would drive you crazy trying to figure this shit out. But one thing I would definitely say for sure is, like a lot of women have been married for a few years, they get to their 30s, they get bored, and they get around other women like them, they start gossiping, and next thing you know, what happens. It's like, I forget the exact saying, but basically women keep women single, or they, don't try to understand women. Women understand women, they hate each other, they'll fuck up good things. Who knows? But look how it turned out. Was this something new that she discovered about herself after we were married, or was this who she was and she was good at hiding it? I have no idea. It doesn't really matter in the end because in both scenarios, the marriage is over. Here are a few other lessons I've learned over the years. Okay, this guy's been through shit, so he has some lessons, so let's all listen up. It says some people are meant to be friends or lovers. Some are meant to be lessons. Not everyone you lose is a loss. Routine and stability to get over heartbreak. It's about taking control of your life. Their lives aren't your responsibility to protect. Always trust a woman to be a woman. Offering explanations to questions you've never asked is guilt peeking out. Some people can only be happy when you aren't. That's true. He says women are always who they need to be in the moment. Trust only works when both people are playing fair by the same rules. The hardest part isn't leaving. It's realizing that you should have left long before you did. Yeah, nobody likes to waste their life and their time. Only fools and those that like pain ignore their instincts. If they spend more time on their phone, talking on their phone than they do with you, it is over. Women focus on the attention they want, not what they get. A woman will never tell you the full truth about anything because she hasn't finished making it up yet. Thank you for what you do, SSM, and have a great year. Well, bro, that was quite a story. I'm sorry what you went through, man. Just like I'm sorry for all the guys I've been through in varying degrees stories like this. The thing is, man, you're not alone. As you're well aware, you've been watching me for years. There are countless guys out there all over the world that have stories one way or another. I mean, well, it's amazing how similar these stories are, really. But at the end of the day, your situation being an accountant, and it was the tax situation that helped you really figure it out and led down the path of the PI and everything. There you go. Now, some people could say, hey, maybe when you had the gut feelings early, you should have hired the PI. But what's done is done. Your skills helped you catch her. Good old tax time. But anyhow, man, you're 40 now. You got your whole life ahead of you. Because guess what? She's now, as you said, 39 at this point. Guess what? Even if she looks fantastic for 39, she's 39. So you, as a 40-year-old man, you got your whole life ahead of you. You know, I'm willing to bet you're probably kicking ass and taking names more now than you were years ago when you were married to her. And if you had wanted to do that, you probably wouldn't have, as long as you take care of yourself, you got a good thing going, you're not going to have a problem getting women. Or married again if you want. I wouldn't recommend it, and I'm sure you wouldn't do it a second time, after, but the point is, it's going to be a lot easier for you than her. If she's remotely attractive, which I'm assuming you didn't marry some ugly bitch, she can get guys that want to nail her, but to get into a relationship with her, the type of guys that she feels entitled to, fat chance. And I think it's hilarious that guy dumped her immediately, the second it was no longer fun for him. And that guy is a total freaking scumbag. And sooner or later, some husband's going to come after him and do something permanent to him. And that's why I say, guys, don't be like that. Even if you have girls after you, don't be freaking like these guys that ruin marriages and families and all that. You got to have a code. So, bro, good for you. I'm sorry what you went through, but good for you for handling it well. You got a sense of humor about it and having the balls to come here and share your story with the big, giant community here. You're going to help guys out that you never even met, different parts of the world, and you don't even realize it. Well, maybe you do realize it. Your story will help somebody out there, I assure you, and I appreciate you doing that. So, guys, give our brother here a shout out. He's newly free for a few years now. If any of you guys have been recently divorced or been divorced for a long time, throw out some tips out there, getting things back on track. But it sounds like he's doing pretty well. So, bro, good luck to you. I wish all is well. And if she ever comes back trying for a second chance or something, definitely send me the email. We'll love to hear about it. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Again, give him a shout out. And, guys, you got a good story to share, send it my way. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.